I think we're live. Yeah, you got it. This guy moved. We haven't even started yet. He's getting into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Skip Happens. It's another great, fun episode of Skip Happens. I promise you. Want y'all to say hi to my friend Deb Lamphere right up there. She is the president and founder. Oh, wait, there you go. She's the president and founder of the official Country Music Fan Club. And of course, we've actually hung out. I'm pointing, but you don't see my. Oh, no wonder I'm going the wrong way. Right over there is our guest, ladies and gentlemen. That's him. Yes, exactly.
Oh, wait. This is hard. There we go.
I love this guy. I love him already. Watch you do that all night. Oh, it's kind of cool. Or I could play with my fidget spinner while you do that too.
Anyways. I know, with my fidget spinner. Not told there were fidget spinners.
You must have one of those if you were where we were just a couple of years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, it's James Robert Webb, independent artist. One of the reasons why country music is so good right now. He's putting out music. And yeah, seriously. This guy's the coolest, man. He's the coolest. We've actually met a couple of times. He's been through on a radio tour. I think it was you came through a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken.
A couple of times, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and of course, Deb and I, we make our trip to Nashville for the country radio seminar. I usually see you kind of hanging around the lobby.
Yeah, I'm hard to miss.
Good, but in a good way. Good way. How are you, James? Good to see you, my friend.
I'm doing pretty well. I'm glad to be back on here on Skip Happens. Thanks for having me back. I guess you had a short memory. I can't believe you invited me back after last time.
Well,
why did something happen last time?
We're like hurting for guests. So,
I don't remember what happened. Maybe I wasn't there.
Order involved or something. I can't remember.
There was something going on. No,
I have another podcast. Sorry,
I don't know. Or we had him in the studio. It was one or the other. But anyways, James Robert Webb, country artist, got some music out there. He's got a new song out, and of course, you're home just like everybody else. Whereabouts is home, and describe your surroundings a little bit.
Yeah, well, Google can probably tell you precisely where I'm at, like with my trackers and stuff. But I'm actually in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm in a suburb called Bixby, Oklahoma. Oklahoma, Bixby, America.
Okay.
And, yeah, so I'm precisely halfway between New York and LA at the moment. And
like right halfway.
Pretty much halfway. Yeah, that's pretty much right in the middle of the flyover states. I love it.
That's cool. That's cool. And you've got a new single out. How do you pronounce that?
Very carefully.
I know, because I said, started to, and my son looked at me and said, "What are you saying, Dad?" Yeah, exactly. Look, I got.
We don't want to get the FCC or any of this. Yeah, it's a Oak Fusky whiskey. So
Oak Fusky whiskey.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's kind of in that vein of it's an Indian name. It's Native American indigenous name in Oklahoma, Oak Fusky. So kind of like Okamulgee, or everybody knows Okie from Muskogee. Similar to that.
Even Deb remembers that.
Yeah, it's not quite as hard as Okefenokee, but everybody knows that one. But nobody knows Fusky. So,
tell us a little bit about James Robert Webb. Tell us about you, man.
Yeah, man. I grew up in Oklahoma. I grew up listening to country music and everything, and I've always been always banging around on the piano and doing all that kind of stuff. I got interested in songwriting probably about 8 years ago, and that's when I kind of made my way to Nashville and kind of found my voice and all that. Really, it's kind of weird because I always played music as a side guy, but I never really sang until I started writing. And gosh, now here we are. I think like 8 top 40s on Music Row later. We just had top 20 on Music Row with Good Time Waiting to Happen.
Yes, absolutely.
I think my publicist told me that if the world ever comes back together and we have a CMA again, because of that charting last time, I get to walk the red carpet at CMA next time, which I'm like, okay, wow, things are starting to happen. So, and it's all because of support from, stations in towns like Syracuse, like Wolf, and all the listeners and people responding to that. So I'm really lucky that, for whatever reason, people like my music. So thank you.
I think of Tulsa time. Because you're in Tulsa, you're just outside of Tulsa. So
that's right. And
you did that song, right? Didn't you do it? You did the cover.
So it's about, last May, right in the middle of the pandemic, we finally released this album that we've been planning on doing. Like kind of right in the middle of the pandemic, and we haven't been able to tour it or anything. But yeah, Tulsa Time, one of the tracks on there is basically just everybody knows that song, right? Every bar band in Nashville and like anywhere around knows that little Don Williams song. And but we wanted to do it a little bit different. And that's kind of what I like to do, especially if I'm doing covers, is try to find some fresh perspective, like, because for me, I mean, if somebody's doing a cover, I'd rather hear somebody else sing the cover than me. So what I can usually bring to it is like, my mind works in a weird way. I like as a producer. So I always like to spin things 180. So what we did on this Tulsa Time is like a Western swing straight up version, So it sounds like Asleep at the Wheel is playing Tulsa Time.
Yeah.
I have kidnapped Ray Benson, tied him up in the broom closet, and I'm singing it.
Oh, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. So here we are. And this whole pandemic thing has pretty much put a stop on life, so to speak, for the most part. I mean, we still do what we have to do. You do too.
Life goes on. I'm singing at a wedding this Saturday,
Really?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. It's kind of ground a lot of things to a halt.
Yeah, but you will be at a wedding this week.
I'll be singing at a wedding on Saturday in Kellyville, Oklahoma, my hometown.
Wow, how cool is that? How cool
that's super cool.
Robert Webb sing at your wedding.
Nice.
That's cool. And I think I can see. Yeah, I mean, having somebody at your wedding that that you like their music, that's amazing. But like, what's even more amazing for me is that like they wanted me to sing one of my songs. So. Mm-hmm. Like, wow. I mean, there's really not a higher compliment than that. First of all, that they want me to sing at their wedding, and then they want me to sing, one of my songs. So we're going to sing "I Love You and Me" off the album. So.
Oh wow, very cool.
Very nice.
Very nice. Tell us about your songwriting process, James.
Gosh, it's every which way. I've written songs kind of every which way, and I've written duds every which way, and I've written like better ones. Sometimes the easiest obviously is ones that are telegraphed from somewhere else, and the more I write, the more I believe those kind of things come from somewhere else. And if you want to say God or the universe, or there's maybe the collective unconscious or something, it's just the fact that I'm listening there and being the receiver. A lot of times I really believe that's what happens. Because you just kind of wake up with it and you write it. Other times I work on something for months or a couple of years, maybe. I think I always go back to that story with the Beatles and Paul McCartney. The story is that they, like they're touring around, they're playing all these places, and at warm up and in between and in the green rooms and all the time, like for a year or so, Paul McCartney's playing this thing on piano, and it's just driving John Lennon
nuts.
Guano, yeah, I can't say. Mm-hmm. I watch my language on here anyway.
I know.
Driving him nuts, and he just starts calling it scrambled eggs or whatever. It's just like, stop playing that ridiculous song, and it ends up. And Paul never gives up. And, Paul, John and Paul, definitely some of the greatest songwriters in modern times and of all time, people would say. And that song, as you probably know the story, was Yesterday, mm-hmm. which really defined, I had a college professor who, English professor who like analyzed that story because he just the song from an English perspective, just because he loves the song and the use of language in it. And, yeah, sometimes they're like that. I mean, I'm not saying I've written it yesterday, but
not yesterday. My trouble.
Maybe
I mean, just yeah, they did. But how about Zoom? Have you been doing it over Zoom? Have you gotten together with anybody that way? Or
I write a lot over Zoom. I write 2 or 3 times a week by Zoom usually. And I don't know. I think I've written with about 30 different artists in 2021 or in 2020 over Zoom during the time. But yeah, I mean, Zoom's a little bit harder for people. I don't have too much of a problem with it, but because I just you have to project. It's kind of like doing this podcast, right? We're not, when we did the podcast before, we had a lot of fun. We're feeding off of each other. We're in the room and we have a connection. But you and I have worked together before, like you mentioned. We've met multiple other times at CRS, and so it's easier for us to just kind of like, I'm not talking to a screen. I'm talking to my friend Skip, right? And I'm talking to Deb. And we're just, it's like, talking to your sister on the phone or whatever. So you just kind of project the warmth through there. some people are a little off put by that. And I think a lot of times, when you're getting to know somebody, you pick up on a lot of cues like body language and stuff. And there's a limitation on that, I think. But for the most part, I think, especially if you've ever written before, and particularly people that you write with a lot, Zoom makes it easier, because even in Nashville, it's like everybody wants to write by Zoom now anyway. So you're like 2 doors away, but let's just write by Zoom just because.
You don't have to get out of your pajamas at that point.
Yeah, that's true. That's it too.
And you don't want me to stand up right now. I'm in my shorts. But, what you don't see. But writing by Zoom, you don't get that connection. You don't get that feeling. We've heard that from Deb, and I have spoken to so many different artists about this. Just sometimes you don't. Well, yeah, you can see their eyes, but you don't see their complete body language. You don't know. Sometimes it's harder to feed off of somebody that way.
Yeah, it also depends on your comfort level in writing and your writing style. So, like, I'm. Like an example would be one of my some of my frequent co-writers. Well, not all of them, but like I've got one co-writer, Alex Dooley, who he's definitely what we call a spitter, meaning he's like throws out ideas all the time. And a lot of times we'll say people tend to be like spitters or editors. So you might have one person throwing out a bunch of lines and the other person like editing them, and I kind of do both. But to me, it's kind of, I don't know. That's where the doctor side does help, because I kind of look at balancing you realize that there's all these rules and left brain things that you're subconsciously doing, like turning phrases in your head and trying to find rhymes, and is there an alliteration, and is this an ooh and an ooh, and all those kind of things and subtle things. On the flip side, you have to learn to turn that off and do that subconsciously, and just let the force flow, or whatever whatever the creative side is doing, and filter it through that. So it depends. I mean, I've written some great songs. I mean, I've written an amazing catalog with an artist named Raleigh Keegan this year, which I mean, when you hear some of these songs that they're written by Zoom, some of the best songs I've written, I'd say. I think there's 2 or 3 of them that are just like really fantastic. So I think you can write by Zoom, but I think you have to be open to the idea. And like I said, I think the biggest limiting factor for people is it's not really the best way to write the first time with somebody.
Oh, Deb disappeared, but that's all right.
Deb wants to go write a Zoom song. Let's see if she could test it out the waters.
Maybe she went off to listen to it. I don't know the new single. I'm not really sure, but you mentioned the phrase doctor, and I don't know how many people really realize that you are an actual doctor. And I
am. Yeah. I'm kind of like the opposite of what's the guy that was in what's the big movie with Vegas? The Hangover? Is it Kim Jong?
Hangover, yes.
Yeah, he's kind of goofy, but like anyway. I mean, he's a comedian though, right? So I guess I can't cut him some slack, but
so I guess my reason for saying that, you're obviously a very busy man. You have your practice, you're a doctor, but you're doing country music. When do you find time? Well, obviously you've been playing country music for a while,
right.
Probably even before you went to medical school, I would assume.
Absolutely.
So you went to, let me bring Deb back up here. Hang on, she's coming. Hang on, I think there she is. Hi, Deb, welcome back.
You said goodbye before I even popped off the screen on my end. That was kind of fun. Like you said, oh, we lost Deb, and I was still here. So you knew before me I was going to disappear.
So this is the magic of what we're doing here. I'm gonna move us around again. Hang on. Yeah. So here
sorry about that, guys. It must be my internet.
Now she's down there.
That's okay.
I'm on time. It didn't sound right, but anyways. Okay, so we were talking about the fact that you mentioned doctor, and I said there's probably a lot of viewers that don't realize that James Robert Webb is actually Dr. Webb, and he's got a practice in Tulsa, and I was asking him, how does he balance it all? Being a doctor, you're a busy man, but yet you're doing country, you're doing something you love. How do you do all that? How do you make it work, James?
And 3 kids on top of that.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, what I love is that you think I'm making it work. It's spinning plates continuously, and some days I don't know what's going on as far as balancing everything. For me, I've always said that, priority number one has always got to be, whether I'm talking to my office staff or my management team, or priority number one has to be me and my health. Because if I'm so many people depend on me. If I don't, if I'm not healthy, then that all breaks down. And then second, I have to put my family there second. Although I'm not saying that I'm perfect at that. I'm probably really terrible at it, I think, a lot of times. But that's the goal, is to try to keep family number two there, because otherwise they're going to get knocked out of there. And then after all that stuff, then comes the music, right? And so if I want to be if I want to be a great songwriter, just like if I wanted to make the PGA Tour and I was a golfer, like like a lot of doctors, then I have to focus on that every day. But for me, it really comes back down to I love this wisdom that I've always heard. I think I heard it from my grandmother probably first, but I've heard it a lot of places and different patients and people. But it's like, if you have a job that you love, you never work a day in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other corollary to that is, like, when you have kids, people talk about when your kids are young, you're busy working and just busting it, and being a workaholic and trying to build up that nest egg for retirement. But by the time you retire, your kids are grown and they're gone, right? And so we've got it backwards that way. So for me, I try to focus on not being a workaholic as a physician, and kind of focus more on the quality and than quantity. But then it ends up I become a workaholic in music, right? Too, and trying to write, because I write every day pretty much. And so it's difficult, but I will say I don't do a lot of I don't watch TV. I mean, I will watch some Netflix or something at night when I'm going to bed or whatever, or a movie, but I don't spend a lot of time on social media. That's probably, for me, that it's kind of hard as an artist to not be on social media all the time. But at the same time, I'm not going to try to be something I'm not. So I mean, almost everything on social media is something that somebody else is posting. Although I try to make sure it's authentic and that it's stuff from me. But it's just it's a challenge, just like for anybody in the modern world, right? And these kind of themes, I mean, you don't have to be trying to be to get a Grammy and as a country music artist, or achieving trying to be elected president or some massive dream, in order to just realize how difficult it is in modern time to just unplug and be aware and be present of those around you and in your life in general. And I think it seems to fly by faster than ever, just because of all the techno distractions, don't you think?
Yeah, we've talked about that a few times, and how fast everything is just flying. Even during this time of this pandemic and everything, it's like, wow, the week goes by like it feels like seconds. It's like, wow, it's another weekend. I'm not complaining, but then again, I guess maybe I am. Maybe time's going a little bit too fast.
Maybe.
Somebody sped up the clock and didn't tell us.
That's right.
A minute's not really a minute. I think a minute has been changed to 45 seconds. We just don't.
It seemed like 2020 lasted 20 years, but now it's like,
exactly.
Really,
it's like crazy. It's crazy.
But I guess you can just erase that last 10 minutes of me blathering on, and I think it just comes back down to
it's gone.
First things first. That principle of putting first things first, and where what happens in your life is where you put your focus. So if you want a good relationship with your family, then you focus on your family. And if you want if you want to be a good doctor, you better focus on what your patient's telling you and everything you're doing and training. And if you want to be good at cooking your food and not burning it or whatever,
watch the stove.
Right, that'll be definitely my weakness there.
Your weakness is cooking.
Oh, not necessarily, but as far as getting distracted, yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay, I got you.
When I start cooking, somebody calls me. I'm like, oh, wait, smoke alarm going off or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You're on call and you have to go and do whatever. But
yeah, I have to. If I'm cooking, it's like many things in my life. If I'm doing something, I have to devote 100% attention to it. Like I have to turn my phone off. I have to, I can't have the TV on. You can have the radio playing.
Yep. I just want to give a shout out to Courtney Dickinson, who happens to be watching here tonight and said, Dr. Webb and Skip Clark, love you guys. Of course, we love you right back. She's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, Courtney's one of the artists I've written with during
Yep.
the pandemic. She's a great writer and amazing artist. If you don't know her, go check her out. Definitely.
Yeah. She does a lot on her own. She's pushing her own music to radio. She's doing it all on her own. So, and it's a tough job. And you're, I mean, I know you have a team behind you, but still being an independent artist is hard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. One of the biggest challenges I think is there's so many keys to success in the music industry, like for the level that I'm going after. You know what I mean? It's, I could have my band in Tulsa and be, just do cover bands and cover songs and stuff like that. And you can be successful in a lot of different ways. And that's one of the great things about the music industry now. I mean, there's certainly problems and difficulty, but that's one good, it's probably never been easier. I mean, 2020 and the whole world shutting down excluded, it's probably never been easier to be able to kind of make a living at music, because you have so many different things that you can do, from film and TV placement to music and I'm like playing live and things. But at the same time, there's more competition, right? And it's very difficult as an indie artist because you don't unless you've got the 20 million payola or whatever the major label our major label puts behind the latest blue-eyed beefcake from whichever label that's putting out the same on the tailgate song. Without that, you're not necessarily looked at as serious, so there's a much higher there's a barrier to entry on that for like upper levels, and that's that's the way it has to be, because the barriers to entry to recording something have never been lower. So anybody can put something out on Spotify, and regardless of quality, kind of, I'm not calling anybody out or saying that people do that. I'm just saying, as an example, I could, I don't play banjo, but I could pick up a banjo and sing something, get it out on Spotify. And, you're probably inundated with a lot of people locally and that want you to play their music. And that's, that's a music industry thing that people don't get, but
right.
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult, but then you have to kind of figure out what are the pieces, and one of the pieces is playing, right? Because if I'm playing at the amphitheater in Syracuse, it's more germane to your listeners, right? For you, there's a better reason for you to play my song, and a lot of people don't get that, but it is, So one of the cool things during the pandemic is there's a new agency called the Banner Agency that kind of focuses on independent artists. So starting to get booked with them. Starting to look forward to potential bookings here once everything kind of opens back up. So I think that'll be helpful, because I can't wait to really get up there and play some bigger shows in your neck of the woods. Right?
Well, we'd love to have you. There's no doubt about that. And even if you're close by, just let us know. And I'm sure Deb and I would make a little bit of a trip to come and visit and watch. So, because we know your talent, you're awesome, brother. You're awesome.
Thanks.
And you mentioned earlier, I know Deb mentioned the kids. You're a family man, obviously. You're a dad of, is it 3 girls?
3. I've got 2 girls. It's girl, boy, girl. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, theoretically, I thought, well, the middle child is the boy, so that'll kind of offset some of that attention maybe. But it kind of works that way. It kind of doesn't too. But I've got my oldest is 16 and she's like 5'11",
Oh, hi.
Crazy,
Jealous.
Exactly, right. And I don't know where she got that from.
She played basketball.
Yeah. She'd been active in volleyball and things like that. And right now that now they're all dealing with growing up here. And I can imagine if I was in high school and all these things that you don't get to go, these rites of passages and things that are just kind of been put on hold because of it. It's kind of crazy. And then my son's 13, and he's really a very hands-on construction tinkerer, engineer type person. He'd always kind of loved Legos, and the more I see that, the more he likes building stuff. He's actually he's getting into woodworking, and so that's always fun to do. And then plus he's a Star Wars nut, so
awesome.
So I never in a million years would have thought I would have a son that was a Star Wars nut, growing up, because
it's got the lightsabers.
Yeah, it's like from so long ago, and then all this new stuff has come out. Yeah, and then our youngest, she's right now currently we just got a horse that she's riding, because she's been obsessed with horses. So she spends all her time that she can doing that, which isn't as much as she would like, obviously.
Well, Deb, you had horses.
Yep, I used to ride. It was one of my favorite pastimes.
Yeah.
So, but I had children and then didn't have time to ride. So we had to put that on the back burner for a while.
Yeah,
so,
I enjoyed riding when I was a kid. I had a horse movie, so absolutely.
And do you are you on a farm, or do you have like a stable for the horse, or I just
it's interesting because we live in the city now. We're lucky in that we live like at the back of this addition that's next to a creek, so it really feels like we're in the middle of the woods.
Oh, I bet you guys
then we have a bunch of coyotes, wildlife and stuff, but we're also like 5 minutes from Walmart. And that's a suburb, and that's me coming from. I grew up on a farm. I grew up on like a little 10-acre farm, and like every morning I was out taking care of the animals and walking to the barn and carrying water and stuff like that. And there is there's this connection with nature that I have still that my kids don't necessarily have. I think that's kind of the biggest drawback. I think as far as generational difference there. I think that was. Yeah, I read something recently about Bob Marley kind of talking about that too, because he grew up early in rural Jamaica and they moved to Kingston, I think, when he was like 12. So, some of the way that things relate in his lyrics kind of come with that connection with the natural world, just a little bit differently,
Yeah.
You're more dependent on it.
Yeah. Oh, I thought
that was your question.
I'm looking at.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say no. I actually was going to ask. You actually are showing our viewers that it's really never too late to start following a dream that you want to pursue, because you were already into your medical career at this point, right? When you started writing?
Absolutely. That's right. Yeah. That's one of those other isms that I think, is valuable in life is that, you don't regret the things you didn't do, or you only regret the things you didn't do, right?
Right.
Experiences and fail. I mean, those are things that you learn, and you have failures and triumphs and the agony in life. But the things that you dreams and passions or whatever, especially if you feel like a calling on something that's left unfulfilled, I think that's kind of scares me, to think I don't want to have to look back on life and to think, looking back now, I've been doing this about 8 years, and like the success we've had already. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to be like knocking Garth Brooks off the arena tour chart anytime soon, but just to look at the the richness and the music that I've been able to create and to the success that we've had, frankly, it's pretty amazing to think, that all comes from just deciding. Really, it all just started with, me thinking, what is it about all these songs that I can't get out of my head?
But
I could have pulled that off, or pursued it.
Right, but you decided to pursue it. You could have just written songs and performed locally and kind of stayed low key. Or you sit there and think, gee, what would it be like if I really tried to take this to Nashville and try to write songs for other artists, or take my songs and get them out there on the radio and all this? I mean, there's so many different levels that one could decide to do. And when you're already embedded into a family, embedded into a career, it's very easy to just stay on the low end of that. And I don't mean low end, I mean low in time consumption and things like that.
It's probably the smart thing to do, right? But it's also it's also the safe bet,
right?
Yeah, it's all there's another ism. The saddest thing about reaching your goals is you didn't set them high enough, right? So if you're going to do something, what I've learned in my life, whether that's back in high school or in medical school or even in my practice, is that we do the work. We go to college, we do whatever. We study something. Whatever we're doing. We do something that we're pursuing and we get good at it. The amount of love and the amount of investment and work that we've invested in that to get to the good level, it's not very much more to get to the great. Kind of got the majority of that, and so it's about tweaking things on some side. Like I'm sure you probably discovered in the podcast, right?
Yes, we have. You know what I have here? You know what this is? Now, see,
Right.
we talk about James. He's so low key and so smooth. Now listen to him rock out. This is the new single that's out. Here we go.
Halfway between Deep Fork and the Buckeye Creek, amongst the briar thickets and the blackjack trees, Papa lived there in a rusty tin roof shack with a blacksmith's forge that poured out clouds of smoke out back. And when the markets crashed and the hard times came, the law looked the other way, and he made up Fusky whiskey. Papa brewed from Oklahoma cool.
See, that's what it's all about. We talked to James, and he's so like smooth, and so well-spoken, and some great advice. And this song is awesome. This is like the other side of James here. And it's a good side. Don't get me wrong. This thing is rocking. It's going to be hard to say on the radio, but I think I can do it. I just wanted
I'm not even going to attempt it.
Oh, Fusky whiskey. Yeah. I assume this is an all ages podcast, right?
What's that?
This
Yes.
is an all ages podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, after the show, I've got to tell you what one of my band members misheard this as. So
We'll
Okay.
talk about that afterwards.
that'll be a legend.
Mhm.
They won't. The podcast listeners, unfortunately, won't get to hear that,
Mhm.
but you all will. So
Well, that's all
Okay.
cool. And we got a little something for you afterwards anyway. So you got to hang out when we get done here tonight. But,
absolutely,
let me ask you, what's the weather like in Tulsa right now?
it's not bad. I mean, it was probably mid-60s today. I think seemed like. I mean, I'm wearing a t-shirt actually, so I had a sweater on this morning, but
Okay.
it's been pretty nice and clear the last couple of days. It's of course before it's been raining, and it's just like anyway, right? It's changing.
Go ahead,
If you don't like it, hang around. It'll change. Right?
Oh, I know. Go ahead, Deb. Tell them what's it like here.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. Last 24 hours, we pretty much had a blizzard. Windy, blustery, cruddy roads. But we can't really complain too much because it's been our first major snow since early December, maybe, right?
The
I don't think we got
nor'easter.
too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love when they say the big storm. It's 8 inches, 10 inches for us. It's nothing. We go to work, we get out, we wipe
Right.
up our cars. New York City, they're closing down, this, that, the other thing. But to us, if it's a big storm, it's got to be a couple of feet of snow. This is not in my opinion anyway. It's not a big storm to me, but
You're right.
big enough for them to close remote schools. Let me tell you.
Yeah, well, we got all that remote learning going on. So I don't know if we get
No.
snow days anymore. So,
No, they do.
Exactly.
well,
Thank God my kids are out of the school system because I would be going ballistic right now. Remote learning, you're all at home and you have to close the school today. I just would not buy that. So,
are they doing it where you are, James, the remote learning?
There's kind of a push right now to get kids in school as much as possible, but like the Tulsa public school district, which is the largest one in the area we live in, has been out since March, like last year.
Oh, wow.
So they've been all distance learning. My kids go to a private school that they've had the option to distance learn, and we have a lot of people that do that, but we've kind of chose to stay in. However, right now I've got one of our kids' classes is completely out. They're all gone the distance because there's a bunch of cases. There have been cases, or I say a bunch, but just enough that like one person, one class, and another that they were quarantining. So they just made the decision now for them to go out. So it's plus and minus, but there's so many factors with that, right? I mean, most of the kids get it; they don't have a problem, but you really have to look at who is the contact. That, like, if you got grandparents, or really more issue that I think a lot of times, not all the time, but one of the bigger issues is like teachers that are higher risk, teachers in their 60s and or that have problems, health problems that make them susceptible. And that's kind of the issue, talking about hazard pay and stuff. That's probably where it's a bigger issue for risk.
No, absolutely. But they say the schools are not really the big issue, if with the spreading of everything that's going on. But I'm not going to go down that road. But anyways, you hear a lot of different stories, and it's I'm getting
It's crazy.
It's been co-opted to be so partisan on both sides. And then, another issue now is the vaccine. And, the Moderna vaccine isn't really a vaccine, but it's kind of like a next generation thing that works like a vaccine. Okay. But then the other problem is that the anti-vaxxer movement has got into muddying the waters and spreading like whatever they think too, which, those are all there's so many problems in 2020 compounded by the fact that people are like on the media trying to understand what's going on. Are we going to die in a day? And so so much misinformation from all sides, and then it's hard to know, right?
It is.
I know physicians that are confused about stuff, and
Yeah, and I would understand how. I mean, it's just crazy if you don't watch the television, but if you sit down and watch the news, and every network's got something that's it's different, and you don't know what to believe, you don't know which way to turn, you don't know what to do. But I don't want to get into all that right here. But I want to know. Let's change it up here a little bit. Let's. What do you do for fun? I mean, I know you're a doctor, you're putting out music, but when you want to just leave it all behind, is there something that you go and do?
It's usually like taking a trip with the family. That's usually it. Like if we go to Disneyland or we go to rent a lake house or we were trying to do some travel for spring break coming up, but we just decided we're going to stay home and we're going to go. We have a farm and we're going to go fishing and stuff like that. So
very nice.
Well, that's usually for me. And then plus that's the most relaxing thing for me is to kind of get back to nature. Get outdoors or whatever. So.
Absolutely.
I agree. Our kids don't have enough of that these days.
Yes, and that's one of my parental guilt things I have, especially that generational thing. My kids aren't. I'm not shutting my kids out of the house and telling them they can't come home till supper. And locking the door.
Right.
I know. I know.
They're missing out on that. Yeah.
And what do your kids think about you as an artist?
Oh, it's mixed. But the good thing is they're honest. My kids generally like it. It just depends. And of course, my 16-year-old is, she's in the peer group and she likes her own stuff right now. But as she was growing up, she always enjoyed it. But then it's always kind of like, everybody, you always like your family stuff, right? Your son or your daughter or your mom or your aunt or whoever is a singer, you're always going to like him. And I think that's one of the hurdles you have to professionally get over is, we get feedback because everybody, your friends and family always love your stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have to get to where everybody's friends and family love it. But my son's getting old enough where he's a little more selective and like he's into he's been listening to Nirvana lately. So I was like, I mean, I introduced him to Nirvana pretty early on, but now that he's kind of come back to that, is really like I'm kind of proud. And he's mentioned Heart-Shaped Box last night. I said, "Oh, okay. Well, have you heard my Heart-Shaped Box?" Because I'm doing a piano project, and that's one of the songs I covered on it. Wow! But yeah. So he listened and thought it was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, and it amazes me. You talk about your son who is 13. You said correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Nirvana. Was how many years ago? Smells Like Teen Spirit. I mean,
when Cobain died, wasn't it around 94, 95?
Yeah, I want to say it was probably low to mid 90s at the most.
Yeah, I think so. Right. The one thing I remember is I went off to college and I came back. So it would have been the fall of '92 when Nirvana kind of broke.
Okay.
I came back to a high school game and one of the former drum guys that was in the band said, "Hey, have you heard this? Blah blah blah." He's the one that turned me on to Nirvana. So, and that was when that Nevermind album came out. Yeah.
Do you still listen to bands like Nirvana or some of the heavier stuff?
Yeah, I like everything. I mean, I really do like everything. So, it annoys me a little bit when people say, like I listen to everything, because. How you define everything, but yeah. I really like music from all kinds of eras and epochs and genres, and I'm trying to I think I kind of probably identify with what Quincy Jones, his kind of philosophy is either good or bad music, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. It's either good or bad.
You're kind of erasing the genres, and I think Well, I mean, when you look at Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson's success, for example, in the 80s, I mean, it wasn't really about genres, it wasn't about, we're not trying to do Quiet Storm, or we're not trying to do whatever. It was just about, the music.
Have your kids heard you on the radio?
I think so. I don't know that they've heard me lately, because I don't know if because they mostly listen to XM with their mom, is what I'm saying now lately. So Tulsa Time was on Willie's Roadhouse, and I think I'm pretty sure I'm hoping that we're gonna get Oklahoma whiskey is gonna be on Outlaw Country.
Oh, very cool.
I think it would be a good fit, right? So
it would be an excellent fit. Absolutely.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, absolutely. And take advantage of those avenues to get your music out there, because if you hit satellite radio, it's huge. There's
right. It's crazy. I mean, the royalties I got for Tulsa Time being on, even though it wasn't a song that I wrote, for being on Willie's Roadhouse, was, it's almost it wasn't more than everything else I made from music from royalties that year, but it was pretty close. It was just kind of, let's get us some more of that. Maybe I need to be pursuing the coffee house, or Lithium or something. But I do like all kinds of music. So
that's cool. What do you play in the office?
What do I play in music listen to?
Yeah. Do you have music in the office? Maybe
Usually we haven't been listening to music in the office the last couple months. I don't know why. I usually let my staff kind of pick it.
Oh, okay.
So rather than, or I'll say, here, play this or whatever, but most of the time I kind of let them pick. And I think one of their favorite ones, the anesthesiologist, one of them liked a playlist called Hip Hop Barbecue, I think.
No, I don't know.
So it had a lot of 90s and some hip hop stuff.
All right. Like Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yeah. So it have that, and it might have some Snoop Dogg, and it might have Pearl Jam, or some other things like that.
As they dance, put the needle in you. They're moving around.
Exactly right.
And it's like,
do I know that song?
And you don't know that song. You might know Belle Biv DeVoe.
And what was the song that you were saying? I didn't quite catch that. I'm sorry. Try me again.
No. I was just saying that they're trying to put a needle in you, and they're moving around, and you're off. I'm saying that.
I got you trying to put a needle in the patient.
Yeah. It's like
one of my most common requests by patients is "Sing Me to Sleep." They probably need to write a song called "Sing Me to Sleep." Maybe
you should.
Yeah, kind of
interesting. And does your staff? They know what you do. Obviously, they know that you're right to sing.
Yeah, and it's like I say, it's just everybody does something, right? And it's just most doctors do play golf or whatever. But if I go play golf, I love being out in nature. I love walking a course, but I can do okay for 5 or 6 holes. But then at some point I try to swing like Tiger Woods and throw my back out in. I got to bring me a mirror, and I'm trying to do an injection on myself or something.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I just, music, it's just, that's the passion, that's what's always been there since I was a little kid,
Yeah, man.
On the piano.
It's so cool that Deb and I had a chance to sit down with you here tonight and just kind of play catch up a little bit and find out more about you. And you're in your home, we're in our homes. And it's great that we can do this. Who would have ever thought, we've been doing this a little over a year now, but who would have ever thought that this would be the way it's going to be for a little bit? And actually it has its upside, because I don't know what else we would be doing. Talking to the artist and at least, exposing you to hopefully some new fans and so on and so forth. And you got new music coming out. Now, if somebody wants to look into you a little bit more, you've got a website and social media. I know you say you don't do much on social media for obvious reasons. I totally get that, but there are avenues to get your music, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and maybe I do more social media than I admit to there, but I mean, the best, pick your social media poison, and it's James Robert Webb. JamesRobertWebb.com is my website, and that has links to everything. And pick your poison on what you listen. If you listen to Spotify or iTunes or Deezer or Tidal or whatever, and we're going to be on there. So Oklahoma Whiskey, we just came out with a radio edit there that's just coming out, and we actually on the 19th. So 19th of February, we have a new song called A Horse Named Freedom that's coming out. It's not going to radio, but it's a digital release. So if you follow me on Spotify or whatever, you'll be seeing a lot more digital releases that aren't necessarily like to radio, but showing different sides of me. Like this one's kind of like, I don't know, Billy Joel meets Garth Brooks or something. I don't know. It's kind of a piano vocal thing. So it's just a different side. And, if we get a huge response to that, we might end up taking it to Buddy and we might, do a full production on it. But yeah. So, and on socials, feel free. Don't be bashful. Tag me and say hi. You can slide into my DMs. It's fine. I'll say hi. I like to interact with fans.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So
we always say one fan at a time. So
one fan at a time, baby. Maybe making new fans tonight, and then the other advantage to this is that fans get to learn. Existing fans, people that have known me before, get to learn something new that nobody else knows, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, as we mentioned before, James Robert Webb is an independent artist. He does have a team behind him, but he's doing a majority of it himself. And it's like running a business. And he obviously runs a business. Yeah. And Deb knows a lot about that as well, that it takes a lot to make it work. But you're not being governed by the big labels. You're an independent. I can't say that enough. And I give you guys a lot of credit for what you do.
Yeah, so my responsibility I see because of that this year is to try to go in as many different directions and just create music, and not worry about the genre and not worry about obviously what we're not going to release. I'm not going to if I go and do some hip hop rapping song or like a jazz album, I'm not going to try to release that on and get Skip to play on Wolf, but experimenting, trying to find different sounds and not being afraid to fall. A little bit. Right.
And the nice thing about you, Doc, now I call you Doc, is, you do have a career. You do have something going. So let's say your dream doesn't really work out.
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening, but at least you got your career, you got a beautiful family, you got a beautiful home, and you've done a lot for yourself. You deserve a lot of credit for what you've done. So, and
I have a great way to spend my time when I'm doing those other things, writing songs and everything else. So, yeah, what's not to like for me? I mean, I'm super lucky. I mean, and going back to that, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I mean, I I've got medicine and I've got music, and they're both things I love to do. So, if I can
get the M&Ms,
man, that's right,
music, baby. M&Ms. Have you got some questions there? We're going to throw it to James, or what do you think?
We have a few fun questions for you.
I'm ready.
So trying to find out a few little secrets out of you. Let's see. Let's see. What did I pick out tonight? What should we learn in what should we learn in high school that they don't teach us? I guess more for your kids. What would you like them to learn in high school that they really don't teach? I mean, we're talking generational stuff, so I probably on the same page.
What's that?
You mean like things that we learned in high school that they're not teaching today, or?
Yeah.
That's a good question, man. I don't know. There's always like the pluses and minuses, but if I could teach kids and everybody, it's that. One of the problems with education is that everybody gets kind of forced into this square peg, round hole type thing. Mm-hmm. And people have different strengths. And just because, there might be a reason that if you struggle in math, there might be a reason for that. It's because it's not because you suck or you're terrible or you're not smart. My son has dyslexia, for example, and he has dysgraphia, which means like it's 10 times harder for him to write something neatly than me. You can have something like that, and you can still. That doesn't mean you're not smart, because being smart and intelligent and being able to learn things is not always correspond to how you do in school, right? So don't get discouraged about that. There's if you could, I guess could you be taught intuition, like follow your heart and kind of to trust your judgment, that part of yourself that's telling you, I should be doing this, or maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I shouldn't get in the car with these guys. I got a funny feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
You made me think of something when I was growing up, the way they taught us division was, I feel like, such a simple way to divide a number before the calculator. Now, the way they teach these kids division, it's this contraption, I swear, that I couldn't even, like, this is not making any sense. Where did they even come up with this? What was wrong with the way they taught us how to do division way back when?
It's true.
I think it's I mean, personally, I think it's just an attack on Western civilization.
Yeah.
Seriously, unfortunately, I think there's, you had plenty of, things at work, and we're kind of in a situation in our country where we're apologists for being American, and I'm not trying to say I mean to be like, super, one party or the other, but I mean, there's reasons that America's been successful, and we have our problems, I think most people in America kind of, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we were getting along pretty well, so don't let the media fool you and make you think that we all hate each other.
Right.
Get off of Twitter. Put the Twitter.
That's right.
I mean, nothing good comes from Twitter.
All that social media stuff. I really
have conversations with people around you. Your neighbors,
yes.
Stuff, right, and try to find common ground. Right.
It's,
good luck. But
be a militant moderate.
Militant moderate. I'll remember that.
Moderate.
Yeah, right. Militant moderate.
Let's see. What's another one? Do you have pets?
I don't. Pets? I love it.
Oh, well, you have a horse, kind of.
Yeah.
But the horse is not in your house.
Yeah,
so this question was going to be, if my pet could talk, what would it say about me?
It's got a horse.
I know. What would your horse say about you?
Yo.
He's tall.
Or be like,
he's patient. Little girl.
I hope he's not going to ride me.
Like, your daughter is so tall. How tall is your wife?
Yeah, my wife's 5'4". So.
Oh wow!
But if I think back to, like, my the last like the last dog I had when I was probably a teenager or whatever, he'd probably be like, where's that guy going? Because he used to spend all his time with me, right? And now he's like, he's like chasing girls or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how times change.
Yeah.
So.
One more.
All right. Yeah. So if you could pick a place where you'd like to go one day, where might that be?
Oh
gosh. I think about, there's so many, I love to travel, right? And there's so many amazing places in the world. And so it's kind of cool trying to, like, explore a lot of the cool things around where we're stuck right now. Right. And trying to find things at home. But, one thing that keeps coming back to me is, I'd like to go to, I don't want to climb Everest, but I would like to go to Timbuktu.
Nice.
Like,
I often think about that. I'm like, where would I really want to go? I probably want to try to find somewhere in our own country.
Yeah.
I don't know where to pick.
There is so much to see here in our.
There is, and that's been one of the greatest blessings of being an independent artist, is the radio tours and being crisscrossing the country and seeing. I have, like, in the last few years, I've really been blessed to be able to see so many different parts of this country that few people ever do. I mean, there's a lot of road warrior people that are driving all over the time, but like most people that I hang out with have not had the opportunity to see, like the Cascades and the Smoky Mountains and the Sonoran Desert, and or I got to see the Liberty Bell, a couple of
go to the Ozarks.
Right, I've been in the Ozarks. Right, exactly. I got to. I know where the 1,000 Islands are now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you came in, you made a visit. Exactly.
Right, in the Finger Lakes.
Watertown.
Yeah.
See our buddy Stan.
Yeah. It's just it's kind of amazing, all the things I've got to see. But yeah, you're right. I do think there's just so much you could just spend a little time here and not see.
There's so much to see and do right here at home, and we don't do it. And we are our own worst enemies when it comes to that.
We are, man. Yeah. The other thing is, there's so much to see and do here that we don't ever look inward to, and that's kind of where I struggle as well. So.
James, it's been a pleasure to chat with you tonight. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and talk about your music, talk about your life, talk about your family, talk about everything that's going on. By the way, what's the name of the horse?
His name's Poppy, like Pawpaw, but Poppy, but they call him Poppy. Yeah. Cool. He's 20 years old. He's a sorrel.
He's
a beautiful.
Oh wow.
But and but he's our newest member of our family. So
that's cool. That's cool. Again, thank you so much for joining us here tonight, finding out about you. And if you're watching this or anytime, please check him out. Just Google James Robert Webb, and you're going to get his socials. You're going to find out everything you need to know. That's the wonders about the internet now. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right, not hiding much. Yeah. If I wasn't an artist, I wouldn't want any of this information out there. I'd be kind of a real private person, but it's like you can't be an artist and
No. And we do appreciate that. And the thing is, when we do these and we talk about, we know you're an artist, and most people know you're an artist, but you're also a real person. And I say that all the time. And we just, you have a life, you've got kids, you've got a horse per se. I mean, there's so much more to you,
right?
Really. And I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you all likewise are real people too, and that's another cool thing about this podcast is that that gets to put a little bit interaction, face and personality a little bit more than you get to hear on the drive or whatever.
Right, exactly.
When you're trying to not spill your coffee on yourself getting to work,
I've done that many a time, believe me. So, anyways, James Robert Webb, on behalf of Deb and I, Deb with the Country Music Fan Club, and by the way, give your all your details about your social.
Check us out on Facebook at the official CMFC, and we're on Instagram and we're on Twitter, same thing. So if you get a chance, James, like our page. We'll be following you as well. When something new comes out, we'll be sending the waves out to all our followers to let them know what's going on.
Thank you so much. I definitely will.
And of course, with Skip Happens, you can follow us on YouTube and of course the Facebook page as well, and subscribe as well. James Robert Webb, everybody. James, thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Skip. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.